Hey guys, welcome back. So when we last left off, I said that we would start working on the stairs. That wasn't a complete fallacy, but the first thing I want to show you, because I actually thought about this a second ago, this little guy right here. So obviously you don't just want to project from the x-axis, because if you remember on the other thing it looked kind of wanky. So if we select these two faces, go to UV, planar, and you can do this from either the Z or the X. X would probably look a little bit better. You don't have to do this. I just want to show you this as an example. I'm going to hit apply. Why is that not showing up? Did I seriously not? Okay, yeah, I screwed up. If you just applied a Lambert 3 to just the faces that you projected to, come up to Windows, go down to Rendering Editors, Hypershade. I'm going to show you how to fix this real fast. Under Hypershade, right here's my Lambert 3. I'm going to hold down the right mouse button. I'm going to assign material to selection. And that'll fix your issue. So I know that this is projected because you can see how different this one looks and how different this one looks. If we go to UV Shell, we can select this. Okay, so anyways, we can select that. We can go here. One thing I want to make note of is that if we try to move it, oh, actually no, it actually separated those. I'm actually really impressed. It usually doesn't do that. So I want to move here where there's about 1, 2, 3. That should be fine. But then I'm going to scale this out. By scaling out, you can't just do it right there because then you run into this issue. Boy, I'm sorry about that, y'all. So I'm actually going to scale this out where it's a little bit larger. I'm going to be doing this on my other screen so you can see what it's changing in here. May need to move it up and down a little bit. Let me go ahead and scale it in. Or actually, I need to scale it just a little bit more, don't I? So I'm actually going to keep this all the same. Right about there should be fine. I might actually need to scale it in a little bit more where it's more like this. So when I was scaling in, I was actually literally scaling inwards like that. So that's one way you can do it. The other way you can do it, give me 1 second, y'all. Really? There we go. The other way you can do it is if you can get the camera where it is directly in front, come back up here to planar mapping, you can actually project it from the camera itself. So that's the other way you can do it. Either way is fine, whatever works easiest for you. I'm not going to scold you. However, keep in mind you might run into this error right here. You can always rotate it. So in the x-axis, I'm actually going to put that at 0, so this way it's a little more flat. And you can always rotate this like 55. Okay, so maybe a 60, 65, 63. You know, just kind of play with the numbers, and you can kind of get it close. But then it's essentially the same thing that you did over here, just working with the scaling and everything. If you wanted to add like a little wood piece to kind of cover this a little bit, you could. That's completely up to you. Stairs. So what I want to do is I want to come in here to Google, and I'm just going to type in concrete texture. And let me go to images. We want a kind of a rough texture. I guess the shell texture would be great, but that is a really high image size. As you can see, 4515 by 3010. That is actually insanely high. I'm actually just going to select this one right here. Yeah, that should work. So let me go ahead and save image. And we're just going to save this as concrete. Now keep in mind, if you can find one that is a perfect square image, that's what's ideal. So 400 by 400, 256 by 256, 512 by 512. Image like that, or images like that, is what's ideal, but realistically anything will work. So if I try to come in here, let's just see what this looks like. Let me frame in on that. There we go. Let me just see what this looks like real fast before I get way too far ahead of myself. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the diffuse to it. That is not what I wanted. Concrete. So that looks a little funny. And if we go into the UV editor and see what it looks like, this is why. Because we never applied any kind of planar map to it. So what I'm going to do is, I know Daryl showed you to just go to automatic mapping. I'm going to click on this and show you why you don't want to do that for complex objects like this. So if we go into the UV editor now, you'll see we have these squares all over the place. That can actually be a nightmare to deal with. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to show you how I've been showing everybody else. Now let me go ahead and frame in on that. I'm going to come here to the top view. I'm going to select face. I'm going to drag and select right here. Come on. Come on, Maya. There we go. Okay, so it looked like I selected these faces. I'm going to deselect those. And that one's fine. So I'm literally just selecting these top, see, 2, 4. It's going to be 6 faces. According to this, it's 8 faces. What else did I select? Oh. There we go. So it should just be 7 faces. Why is it 7 faces? What am I missing, Scorchy? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Missing something. Okay, so I had another one over here. I just now deselected and it went down to 6. I just couldn't see it. So I'm actually going to project this from the top. We're going to go to planar and we're going to project it from the top and we can hit apply. Now one thing to keep in mind, I'm not going to go real western with this because I'm going to show you one more way that you can do this. We're going to project this one from the front real quick and now we have that. One thing I want to make note of, actually that one kind of lines up really good. If you're far away you don't even notice that. However, with other textures you will. Because the sides here are hidden, you're going to like this little trick. We can come up here to cylindrical mapping. Let's go ahead and just hit project. But we don't want to project, we don't want it to project like this. Instead, we actually want it to rotate. I think it's going to be in the y-axis. Nope. It's going to be in the x-axis. So we'll put this back down at 0. Oh, no, we want both x and y. Okay. So we want both x and y. Oh, let me go ahead and just do that real fast. And for the image height, projection height, let me move this up like so. I know that looks really wonky, but now what we'll do is we'll go into object mode, we'll go into the UV editor, and we will, what is going on here? Give me 1 second, y'all. So we have projection height. Oh, that's the, I keep clicking on the wrong one. Here we go. Okay, so we have this right here for the, let's see, where are you at? Let me go ahead and come up here to edit. I'm going to delete by type history just so it's easier for me to work with. I'm going to try this again. Let me go into cylindrical mapping and then let me go and switch this to 90 and 90. There we go. That's looking better. So now I'm going to sweep this up. Thinking right about here should be fine. There we go. That looks better. That looks way better. And the nice thing about us doing this is even though we know it screws up right here, you'll never actually be able to see that. If your gap is a little too large, all you have to do is just come in here, select those vertices, and move them just a little closer. And that will hide it for you. So from there, we're also going to want a bump map. We want this to look good. So let's go back into Lambert 5, bump mapping, file, and for the bump depth, we're going to put it at 0.2. We don't want it too extreme. You can use the same file. Usually the artist would create he'd actually create another image for this. But as you can see, that looks pretty good. So now all we have to do is just Control D, move that right here. We can delete the old one, and we'll go to Vertex. We'll move these in about like that. We'll delete that one, Control D, and instead of moving this in like I did last time, if you just move this in, you're going to run into this issue. Well, I'm not talking about these vertices being here, but you see how squashed that is? So is what I like to do whenever I know I'm going to be moving it a lot. I'll go into polygons, I'll click on the insert edge loop, and I'll insert an edge loop. Then I'll come in here to face, and I'll actually select all these faces right here and delete them. And this way it's also saving more faces. So as you can see, this one is now only 16 versus this one on the edge, which is 27. I promise you the length has nothing to do with it. So I'm going to delete these two real fast. Oh, that's kind of wonky. Oh well, I'm not worried about it. Control D. I'm just going to start duplicating. Get these kind of tight. Duplicate that one right there. We'll go into the edge loop again. I'm going to put it right here. And you go into this, face, and delete. There we go. So now we have all of these right here. There we are. I'm going to save it. And all we're doing now is we're just matching. Well, I mean matching, I mean we're just literally going Control D, right here, Control D, right here, Control D, right here. We're just going to work our way up. And you could grab multiple of these. You don't have to do it like I'm doing every single step. It's completely optional. The steps were mainly just there for reference. I actually need to pull this one forward a little bit. Okay, there we go. So now we can select these steps. I'm trying to select just the gray areas. If I select the one with texture, it'll select the actual steps. So now that I've done that, is what I want to do is select all of these, and I'm just going to move them over. Probably like that. I'm going to go ahead and delete that one. And I'll have to create another one over here, so that's no big deal. And then for these, I'm going to need to do the same thing. I'm just going to move them. I'm going to move these all over. Yeah, probably right about there should be fine. I'm actually going to select all of this up here. I'm going to go into my channel box. I'm going to add them to there. This way I can work, and ENT Re-Up did, because that's starting to kind of drive me crazy. I'm not even going to lie. Alright, so it looks... Did we move these? Yeah, I think we did. I don't know if we did. We did not. Okay. Let me go ahead and... No, I'm going to leave those alone for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start selecting these. And literally all I'm doing is just moving them across like this. I'm just moving them back and forth. That's it. And the whole purpose of this way it gives it a nice offset look. And of course you'll have to come back in here and fix a lot of this stuff. later on, but taking this little extra step, it really adds to the scene. But it's completely optional if you want to or not. So I just kind of want to throw that out there real fast. Alright, so we have this right here. Let's go ahead and bring this in right about there. We'll do the same with this. Nope, can't do it with that one. So let's go ahead and grab this one. And I'm going to go ahead and just delete it. We do not need it. Okay, let me go ahead and Control D. F. Move that right about there. I'm going to move it right about here. And then it looks like we need another one. I'm just going to start moving these over like so. So what I need to do now, I'm actually going to do the same thing right here. Control D. Move those like so. Let me go into this window. I'm going to click and drag right here. I'm going to deselect all of that. So all those are the only thing that is selected. I will hit delete. Let me hit delete again so I get rid of that one. That should be it, I think. Yeah, it should be it. So then, just as before, I'm actually going to select all of these. All the ones that are protruding through. Let me press Q on the keyboard. I'm going to combine these, so this way I can just simply click on my edge loop tool right here. Create an edge there, create an edge there. And as you can see, I'm just creating edges, but I'm making sure it's staying inside this diagonal pillar, or whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to create an edge here, create edge here, create edge here, and that's all I'm doing. I'm just literally creating edges, and I'm making sure it's staying somewhere inside this. From there, we can go to face, select all of these, and we'll select all of these. And then just delete them out. Oh, I love it when Maya does this. It makes me think she still loves me. Really? Okay. Let's see if all of these got rid of it, or if it's playing mind games on me too. Alright, there we go. So it looks like we still have one that I kind of screwed up on. If I go into X-ray, wherever that's at, all I'm going to do, instead of like actually moving all this over, I'm actually going to take my time and add another edge loop. Go to face. I'm actually going to delete these faces. The reason why, because as I stated before, if you try to just grab the vertex and you move these, you'll start really messing with the texture. I'm trying to keep this texture as uniform as possible. I know life's not uniform, but you know what? Who? So that's the way I would do that. And as you can see, just spend a little bit of time on the stairs. It really looks pretty good. It looks like we got a little bit of a gap. So let me go into, not that view, but the front view. I'm actually going to, let me go to modify. I'm going to freeze transformations. I cannot do that with an image plane? Really? Wow. I didn't know that. Now I do. So X is zeroed out, so I'm just going to move this way out over here. This way I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to... Ew. Let me go ahead and separate these, center pivot. Let me separate these. What? Separate these, center pivot. Thank you, Maya. The joys of Maya, y'all. So I'm going to select all of these now that Maya is behaving properly. There we go. And I'm just going to press W on the keyboard I'm going to go to center pivot. I'm just going to move this down just a little bit. There we go. So I'm going to go and turn this back on. And that actually looks pretty good. No, I don't want UVs. So if you want to see what this looks like in the UV editor real quick, if we pull this up, that's basically what we're looking at. If you want to make that more proper, I guess would be the term, you simply select them all. Go ahead and deselect these. Come back in here to the UV. I'm going to drag this window off. I'm going to zoom in right here. So let me go ahead and just scale this window in. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to actually scale this. Let me go to Shell. I'm going to select everything. I'm going to bring this down right about here. Let's give it more of a grainy look, shall we? So that's how you go from smooth to grainy. It's completely up to you. If the bump looks like, to me right now, the bump looks too much. Is one reason why I was keeping it up kind of high, but then I decided, let me show them this real quick, because I already know it's going to be messed up. If we go to, not that one, if we come in here to bump, and you just see File 4 in Place 2D, simply click on this box, this icon right here. We're going to change the bump value, the bump depth to 0.1, and you can see that looks a lot better. So, options, y'all, options. Alright, so, I think that's going to do it for this video. Actually, let me go ahead and do this real quick. Stupid Jimmy can't make up his mind. I know, I'm sorry. For this one, you can just do all Mac mapping. I'm not too terribly worried about it. And then we'll go into object mode. We'll click on both of these. Open up Hypershade. If you closed it out, like I just did by quote-unquote accident, go up to Windows, Rendering Editors, Hypershade. This LD window will pop up, and we'll apply the Lambert 5 material, assign material to selection, and there we go. If you think that looks too odd, not uniform enough, simply bring up the UV editor. Let's go to UV Shell. And I'm going to select all of these. Now keep in mind I'm not selecting this one too, so I actually need to come here to UV Shell. Or actually, let's just go to Face. I'm going to select all of these, hold down Shift, and select all of these. We're going to zoom in on this, and we're just going to scale the crap out of it. Right about there looks fine. Yeah, that looks good. So, there you go. That's how you do that. Easy. Real quickly, let me go ahead and bring all this back. We're also going to do the same thing. Let me go ahead and select all these. Now, if you do a cylindrical map to this, it will apply it, but it won't look exactly like this, because basically what's going on is it's creating a cylindrical wrap all the way around all of these. So it's not doing them on an individual basis, but you'll still get the same results. Same as if you selected all of these and did that. You still get the same results overall. I'm going to click on this one, object mode, G, come in here. So I'm going to select all of these. I'm just going to apply the wood texture to it real quick, because why not? So I'm going to assign that. And then for these, you can assign them to these as well. I'm leaving that completely optional, up to you. Do that. 1, 2, 3. That piece up here was black. And so I'm going to go ahead and come back here to Hypershade. Let me go ahead and assign that one to those. Now let's say you're looking at that and you're looking at this and you're like, Jimmy, that's brown, that's not red. No, that's not a problem. If we come in here into the Lambert 4, the other way you can do this is just bring up this right here and click on this. This right here will be a preview of your rendered texture. So we'll come in here to color, And right here under the default color and color gain, as you can see that by moving the default color and color gain, well, the default color won't change too much, but the color gain will. You can simply come here, add kind of a red tint to it. I'm going to add it right about there. And there we go. Even if you render it, you'll see that it has a red texture. Now, one thing to keep in mind, if you crank the color gain all the way up, you might lose some of this detail. So that's something to keep in mind. Real quickly, because I like detail, I'm kind of a fan of it. Let's go ahead and add, I'm going to change that to a 0.1 because I already know it's going to be kind of extreme. Let's come up here, add the shrine, no, the wood texture. We'll add that. That doesn't have much of a bump depth to it, does it? Kind of does, but not really. So I'm going to change this to a 0.5. Maybe a 0.25. There we go, I like that. I can live with that. And I'm going to come in here to File 5. Let's go to Color Balance. Now, one thing I want to show you, if you bring this down, generally your bump depth will go away. Or maybe it's the default color. Yeah, maybe not. Sometimes by bringing this down, depending on if this color balance is actually selected to the alpha channel, that will change if you're going to have bump or not. In my case, I think it's because it doesn't have, what's this called? Black and white or saturation. I'm probably not running into that, but if you do, that's one thing to keep in mind. This can also change things. Once again, not black and white. Don't really have to worry about that. At least that's from what I remember. It's been a while since I've actually gone into some of the real high detailed stuff with this, but I think you get the idea. Yep, we may shim. So we're going to select these as well. Let me go ahead and come back up here to Hypershade. Set material to selection. Last thing I'm going to do, this time I will do automatic mapping, because why not? Automatic. There we go. So now it all looks good. And if you don't like how this is like the same all the way across, simply just go to UV Shell. UV Shell. Come up here to the UV editor right here. And all you have to do is just move it over. I'm going to deselect this one. I'm going to move it over here. So now you can see that these have a different look. Well, this one does. This one doesn't. I don't know why. Let's try this again. You're going to listen to me and you're going to like it. Move it over here. There we go. So now they all have a different look. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If you wanted to add that extra detail to it, and that's completely up to you. So I'm going to stop the tutorial right here. I have no idea what I'm going to do in the next one. Oh, actually, before I stop the tutorial, how do you export from Maya to Unity? This is actually a very tedious step. I mean, Dare will tell you how difficult it is. And in fact, if he's watching that, he's probably like, yeah, okay, rolling his eyes at me. Literally, you'll get rid of your images. You will select everything in your scene. I'm going to go ahead and save it first. So you'll select everything in your scene, File, Send to Unity, Selection, and then you'll simply look for where your folder's located for Unity. In my case, I'm just going to come here. I'm going to create a new folder, Unity Export, TUT. I'm going to select this folder. Another window is going to pop up. Everything is already set for you. So, I mean, it is so much easier than what it used to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the file name of this is just TUT. Export selection. Sometimes you'll get this. Basically, that means that there's a map that wasn't converted properly. In this case, it was the grid one, which is a default Maya texture, so that one won't be exported correctly. But generally speaking, your artist will actually create a PNG file for you to use. So this way you'll be able to export it, and then you won't run into that issue. But that is literally how you export to Unity. It is that easy. I know, it's awesome, ain't it? So anyways, I'm going to stop the tutorial right here, and I'll figure out what we're going to pick up next on the next video. Till then, see you. Oh, and before you leave, press Control Z on the keyboard a few times so you get those images back, because you're probably going to need them. Press it a few more times. There we go. Control S. There we go. Okay, see y'all later.